I now take the pleasure of inviting today's speaker and introducing him to all of you. So Dr. Rao has obtained master's degree in pharmaceutical sciences from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. He has an experience of having worked in the research and development departments of major leading Indian and multinational pharmaceutical organizations. He has more than 4 decades of experience in the research and development departments in various capacities, which includes Warner Hindustan Limited, SOL Pharmaceuticals Limited, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Hyderabad as Vice President, Agila Specialities, and as strategic advisor at Great Four Systems Inc. and as director at PharmaTrain and HIQ Pharma. He has championed several new product development initiatives where he has driven the concept to commercialization. He has various patents to his name and holds professional membership to a number of reputed organizations. With this, I pass the mic over to you, Dr. Rao, and we can preside over the webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Nidhi. Good morning, everybody. Professor Reddanna sir, EVP Phaba, who has joined from US. Very grateful, very kind of you to join at this hour. And Dr. Sharma, the manager Phaba, and Dr. Nidhi Khurana, the convener for this today's webinar. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of Phaba webinar. And I take it as a useful talk for students who will get benefit out of it. What way they have to inculcate those skills for the development of this one. And what we have chosen this topic, which myself and Nidhi were interacted, and we thought this will be a more relevant and people will join more and they will learn a lot of things on the skills what is required for this one. So before that, I now can start my talk and start the screen. Okay, Nidhi?
Sure, sir. Yeah.
So my topic for today's webinar is skills required for employability in pharma and biotech industry. Both are very knowledge-based industries and which are doing very well. Both the sectors are doing very well. And my talk is divided into 3 parts. One is first of all, we should know about pharma and biotech industry. Before we go into the skills, what is required, a overview of pharma and biotech industry is required because many people, I got a cross section of the people who are undergraduates, graduates, and PhDs, and some faculty members are there from the biology, zoology, microbiology, and the pharmacists also there. So for the benefit of everybody, I thought of one section I will categorize for the overview of pharma and biotech industry. And second is for the skill sets for employability. Third is what kind of career opportunities people have got. Yeah, before we start, pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, we need to know what exactly is the difference between these two. And pharmaceuticals deals with the discovery and development of new chemical entities to meet patients' unmet medical needs and treat new diseases. So this is the basis. When I say it is a discovery, new chemical entities called NCEs. First time we are coming with a drug. That's called a new entity. After it's established and once the patent expires, they become a generic drug. Before that, it will be branded. Whoever the major companies who does research, they spend a lot of money on this one, makes a lot of efforts on this discovery of this one. Even our vaccine also comes into this one because it's under, now it is comes under the biotechnology area. So there they will be using biotechnology drugs produced using living organisms such as bacteria and mammalian cells is a biotechnology. Now, combining these two, biopharmaceuticals is the other area, what is next one. So briefly, for the benefit of our cross-section of people, I thought let me tell about what is a drug, what is a biologic, and what is a medicine. A drug is a substance used in the treatment, cure, prevention, or diagnosis or of disease, are used to otherwise enhance physical or mental well-being. Any substance intended for use called drug. That is the definition of a drug. It is also called an active pharmaceutical ingredient. As per the regulatory terminology, it is called API. API industry, what I call formulation industry and API industry. API industry focuses on the making the drug substances. These drugs will be made into a formulation by adding some of the excipient, which I will explain you in my coming slides about the drug. This is also called a drug substance. API or drug substance or drug. All three are same. Third one, the second one is biologics. A biologic drug is a product that is produced from living organisms or contain components of living organisms. And medicine is what? This can come from the biologic or from a drug. Drug plus excipient. As such, you cannot take a drug or engulf or swallow it, because that will be bitter, or sometimes the dose also will not go correct properly. So it has to be added with some excipient. They are called inert substances in a particular form to make a dosage form. It can be a tablet or a liquid or a injectable and administered to a specific routes. The route of administration are different. All drugs will not go in the same route. Some may be oral routes, some may be transdermal, some may be subcutaneous, some are intramuscular and nasal also. This is the kind of dosage. But before that, we should know about what is the source of drugs. The source of drugs, it can be from chemical origin, it can be a plant origin, or a mineral origin, microbial origin, animal origin, marine origin, or biotechnology origin. These are the different sources of drugs what we do. Now we are talking mostly of the chemical origin and biotechnology origin. We are not talking about the mineral and animal and marine origins now. We are mostly talking about chemical and biotechnology origin. Broad classification of this pharma and biotech is small molecules versus large molecules. Small molecules means which are molecular weight less than 900 Daltons. It all comes under the small molecule category. They are all by synthesis, chemical synthesis or semi-synthetic, natural synthetic, like that you will be using it. And biotech molecules are more than 150 kilodaltons. That is the size of the molecule. And synthetic route will be different. In the case of synthesis, we are using here, and this is a mechanism of actions are also different for these two bits. And suitability of certain drug forms are only selected for this one. Example for a biotech product is a human insulin. Biotechnology is broadly divided into 4 categories. It is from the marine. Biotechnology is a technology-based biology. It harnesses cellular and biomolecular process to develop technologies and products that help improve our lives and the health of our planet. So that it can be from the marine source. That's what is called blue technology. And the green one, agriculture is green biotechnology. Medicine one is red biotechnology. Industry purposes it use white biotechnology. There are other things also like violet, purple, brown, yellow. They are not much of importance. I'll touch upon those things when I come there. But this blue marine makes use of marine bioresources as the source of application. In green, agriculture, agritech, also it is called as agriculture science, genetic engineering, molecular markers, tissue cultures, vaccines, and plants. That is all. Red biotechnology, which we are concerned now, medicine, involves use of living cells to develop technologies for the improvement of human health. And white biotechnology is for industry and environment purpose. Use living cells, yeast, molds, bacteria, easily degradable, and less toxic, less energy consumption products used for the environment purpose. Violet is called legal aspects. Violet is called legal aspects, and purple is for interactions and publications. Brown is for management of arid lands and deserts, and yellow involves use of insects and analogs of green and red. But these 4 are very important from the biotechnology point of view. Now, when I told you, we have starting material is API. In this age here, you see API will be available as a form of a crystal or a micronized powder or a free-flowing powder like that. If you want to take a dose of paracetamol drug is available as a powder like that, but you cannot take that as such. You need to take a correct dose of 500 milligrams. So it should be converted into a, like that, from here to like a tablet, paracetamol tablet. Paracetamol liquid also is available. For that, to make that one, API along with the excipients are added. These excipients are all inert substances. When you see inert substances, they are no therapeutic activity. They are called bulking agents, disintegrants, lubricants, and release pattern improvements wise, they use these kind of a excipient. Using the excipients, the dosage form is formed. The dosage form wise, here it can be a oral route. The oral route can be a tablet or a liquid. Oral route, right? Even inhalers also will come through that one. The inhalation technology. Parenterals are subcutaneous intramuscular, and parenteral IV fluids are directly given into the veins. It goes to the bloodstream. Transdermal patches are like a patch. It will be applied on the skin. It slowly transmits, absorbs. Skin absorbs the medicine and it goes into the system. Topical applications like the ointments, creams, lotions, all these becomes a topical. So the route of administration also will be decided during the development, research, and applicability, where the bioavailability is good, where it can be of a greater emphasis, all will be discussed and it will be based on that. It will learn. You have seen here ophthalmic drops are there. A liquid, there are liquid suspensions, emulsions will be there. This is inhaler, and this is intramuscular, intravenous, or sometimes lyophilized products also will be there. This is a topical product, and this is a dosage form tablets. Life sciences value chain, how this life sciences industry works. For example, we have a patient population. The patient has got a disease. He has got some unmet need. That kind of a drug may not be there. That will be the source of for the scientist to know about it. It helps the scientist to work on this one. For example, the COVID vaccine, if you take that one also, there is no such vaccine so far from that one. So it has started when the pandemic has started and people start working. Now I'm taking an example of here is any new chemical entity synthesis or new chemical discovery. These scientists will work on the lab to identify which will be the suitable structure. It will be a synthetic structure. They start working based on the patient's unmet need condition. That is the idea. This idea is a concept has come from here, and the scientist takes it into his lab and works on this one. And initially, when this kind of a compound, a chemical is identified, you need to test in the animals. So this is called preclinical. The preclinical testing is done on animal models. So to see whether efficacy, a therapeutic efficacy is there is no toxicity is to be established here. These three are very important factors of safety, efficacy, and toxicity. And of course, cost will be the underlying principle. Cost also they will look at that one, and stability of that one also. It should be stable such a way can be formulated. It can get transported to various places, and patient can use it. So all these four aspects will be seen in the case of a preclinical. From the preclinical, they get some ideas which may suggest you may have to change the molecule, add some structural changes or chemical bondings. All these things will be done here. It will go into the finally selected one. With this, they go to the regulatory authorities. I give an example of FDA, because Food and Drug Administration, US is the most stringent one, and it approves automatically. It can get cleared. It can go into market. FDA, the initial data will submit to FDA, and FDA recommends, okay, you can proceed with your phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. And phase 3, these 3 clinical trials data is submitted. Finally, they give approval for clearance for manufacturing. So this is the kind of process it will take place. And once it is cleared for this one, it goes into the factories for API factory, formulation factory to get converted into a dosage form. And the dosage form has to get transported. It can be a air route or a sea route or a road route or whatever it may be, transportation. So that means the product has to withstand this kind of a transport logistics also. And finally, it goes into sales. Sales team will brief the doctors and doctor gives the patient. So we have started with the patient who has got a no medicine at this now, he got a medicine and the doctor dispenses. This is the life cycle value chain. The first one is called research and development. The second is called manufacturing and supply chain. And the third one is sales and marketing. There are a lot of IT enablement across the value chain is going on nowadays. It starts with drug discovery, clinical trials, manufacturing, regulatory, commercial, and operations. In drug discovery, there are lot. Why I talk touching upon about IT enablement. IT courses are also needed. The basic knowledge, basic degree or postgraduates would do it. With that, if you can add some of the IT skills also, it can go in a long way for your career plan also, like genomics, proteomics, and big data analysis. These three are drug discovery using a lot of this data in this one. And genomics is study of whole genomes of our organs using combination of DNA and sequencing. And proteomics is large scale study of proteins. Proteins are the vital parts of our living organisms. And big data is for data is large and complex. It is not just like you can do it in Excel sheet and do it. Now the data is so vast. It is humanly impossible for the data to collate and analyze this one, what kind of analysis you want, the complex in nature, and collection of data and analysis is big data. Next goes in the clinical trials, we have virtual trials, companion diagnosis, precision medicine. Virtual trials is remote or decentralized trials taking advantage of technology such as apps, electronic monitoring devices, online social engagement platforms. And companion diagnostics are drugs to avoid aid in selecting or excluding patient groups for treatment that determines respondents and non-respondents. Companion diagnosis, because there is a lot of excretion inclusion criteria is there for clinical trials. Everybody cannot be taken, every animal cannot be taken for the clinical trial purpose. For that purpose, what they do, this is called a companion diagnostics. And precision medicine is an emerging approach. This is an emerging approach for disease treatment and prevention that takes into account individual variability in genes, environment, and lifestyle for each person. It's a personalized medicine nowadays coming. It is not like one medicine which will be useful for everyone. They are looking for the personalized medicine. That is the kind of development is taking place. And now next goes to manufacturing. In manufacturing, we are seeing robotics. Robotics interface of computer science and emerging robotic involves design, construction, operation, and use of robots to design intelligent machines that can help and assist humans in their day-to-day lives. And digital factories are coming up. The digital factory uses digital technology for modeling, communications, and to operate manufacturing processes. Arrangement technology allows managers to configure, model, simulate, and assess, evaluate items, procedure systems before the factory is constructed. Before the factory is constructed, the digital factory, how virtually, how it can be looking. So what kind of problems? Sometimes we design it, sometimes at the last minute we say this machine has occupied so much space, or this should have been there, the flow is not good. So many things will come up once in the project is going on. But this is the digital factory is one which is coming up. In the case of regulatory, we have a real world evidence, digital therapeutics. Regular real world evidence is evidence obtained from real world data, which are observational data obtained outside the context of randomized controlled trials, guided, generated during clinical practice. These all data will be required for regulators to file the data to FDA or MHRA or CDSCO in the case of India. So those regulatory bodies will look at the data. There will be regulatory departments in each company which collate this kind of data. And digital therapeutics is new treatment modality in which digital systems such as smartphone apps are used as regulatory approved. prescribe therapeutic intervention to treat medical conditions. It gives nowadays alarm. You need to take a medicine so and so time, or you want ongoing readings. You want to do it. Nowadays there are blood pressure readings are also can be notified. Even blood sugar levels also can be monitored like that. These kind of apps are coming on this one, and this will help people to monitor that one. And of course, novel delivery devices. The routes of administration, what I told, is not meeting all the requirement. There are some other novel delivery doses are also there. Drug delivery devices, transdermal I told you about, new aerosol, ocular drug delivery. These are all precision controlled delivery devices. Not only the medicine in the form of a drug, but the device which is used for application also nowadays called as a drug, because the device will precisely give that kind of a dose. The pre-filled syringes we are seeing, insulin pens we are seeing. So what dose we require to do, and even for aerosols also there are dosings also there, and it will give the number of doses you have consumed and how many are left over also. All these things are possible in the case of regulatory new development. Commercial decision support, share of voice, digital marketing, logistics, and operations is logistics. And commercial decision support is share of voice is digital marketing, provides comprehensive practical guidance on how companies can get the most out of digital media and technology to meet the marketing goals. So this kind of data, they will use it for the marketing purpose. And when it comes to operations, logistics is company need to find new ways to create and deliver value, cost reduction, and improved services. Basically, the Amazon is considered as one of the best company with the logistic this thing. Even similarly, Walmart has got a very good network and logistic support, and they can replenish the items in the shelf based on the consumption. Today we are sold 10 tablets. The data goes into their main server, and it linked to the factories also. So they know what batch they have to plan and how to distribute it, how they can replace it. It is not like a earlier system of inventory, carrying so much of inventory. We have so much inventory lying in the factory, inventory lying in the distributor, inventory lying with the wholesalers. So that is being reduced, because inventory is a loss. And when I say unsold inventory is blocking the money. Now what we are doing is this kind of logistics are coming. Digital supply chain supplies partners, companies, and dealers in supply chain to use, generate, share information with others. E-procurement. E-procurement is for the case of gaining efficiency and to streamline purchasing process from a supply chain perspective rather than from an internal perspective. Supply chain purpose, electronically we control it. How much, like what you got a commercial digital marketing gives inputs. Then operations team purchase has to look at how much of API is there, how much of excipients require, what batch they have to plan it. And there also they don't want to keep the stock in the raw material stores as lying idle. It is a virtual just in time, it is called. Just in time only the material will come and it will get converted. How fast you convert the material into a product and sell it, that is called ROI. Return of investment will come based on this one. This is called stock turn ratio also. How much the stock is getting rotated. If you have 100 rupees, how much you are able to rotate it to make it 200 or 1000 or 2000. That means you are able to multiply by 10x or 20x or 5x. That will decide about the company's performance and the profitability. So this is the source what I got from Post and Sullivan. I just shared with you. Emerging technologies and development impacting the pharma industry. Top 10 pharma companies. Just for the information, I'm just giving the pharma companies. Internationally, these are the top 10 pharma companies. Roche with 53 billion. This is the 2020 figures as on date up to October. This is 53 billion, number one position. Pfizer is in second position, 49.7. Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Novartis, AbbVie, Takeda, Bristol Myers Squibb, Sanofi, Amgen. Now these figures will undergo change because some people are coming to vaccine. Pfizer has announced that 90% is their vaccine is safe. Moderna is giving the vaccine also. So like that, everybody is working on this, whatever is the need of the hour. So these figures will also get changed because see, you can see Roche has gone 16% year on year, whereas Pfizer has -1 last year. Like that, you can see it is varying from -1 to 16, 15. There are 57%. Takeda Japan has improved their performance very well, and 57% is a year-on-year growth happened in Takeda, which they came in the top 10. Earlier, they were not there. Similarly, now coming to top Indian pharma and biotech companies, we have pharma companies, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo, Cipla, Lupin, Jadis Cadila, Torrent, Intas, Glenmark, Mankind, to name a few, top 10 I have given it. Similarly, we have biotech companies, the Biocon, Serum Institute, Jubilant Life Sciences, Biological E, Bharat Biotech, Maharashtra. This because biotech has got the 5 sources what I told, the blue, green, and red, and this thing. So green also included the Mahego Grow is Maharashtra growth company is there. And we have other companies like Newsweed Seeds. They are into agriculture. Biotech agriculture, they are into agricultural sector. So I covered all the things which are there in the top pharma and biotech companies. And a snapshot of global life sciences is globally 1.23 trillion is US dollars, the global pharmaceutical market. Biotech is around 300 billion, and medical devices also, it is very catching up very fast. It is around 364 billion. And the fourth one is also the diagnostics also is coming into the life sciences one industry. So this is 1.23 trillion is equal to 100 lakh crores of revenue in this one. Come to Indian industry, India is about $40 billion US dollars Indian pharmaceutical market. It is divided equally between the domestic and export. We are exporting around 200 plus countries, and we are worldwide, we are third in the rank in the volume production, but in terms of value terms, we are 10th rank in the 10th rank. And another important factor is 60% of vaccine is coming from world, 60% production of vaccine come from India. So that is a very, now vaccines are becoming we are called as a pharmacy hub of India, pharmacy hub of the world. Now vaccines also are going to become vaccine hub. India is going to be world vaccine hub because 60% of production is coming from India. And even now Serum as well as Bharat Biotech, Biological E, all these 3 companies are already geared up for this COVID vaccine. Around 40 to 70% of WHO demand for DPT and BCG vaccine is met from India, and 90% of WHO demand for measles vaccine is met from India. So this is a snapshot of global science continuation. Biopharmaceutical and biomedicine globally is going to become 800 billion by 2025 with a CAGR of 7.4%. Now latest drugs are all biopharmaceuticals only. 30% of drugs are in drug pipeline are biopharmaceutical. Highest selling drugs are monoclonal antibodies. They have specific action and reduced immunogenicity is there. And Indian biotech industry is valued around 62 billion and will reach by 150 billion by 2025. This is the report. And 5 major segments what we are talking about in the biotech industry: biopharma, bioservices, bioagri, bioindustrial, and bioinformatics. Biopharma is manufacturing living organisms such as bacteria and yeast and mammalian cells, I told you. And bioservices is defined as aids and services rendered to add in the improvement of support and research to clinical trials. Mostly it is in the clinical trials, health sector, and biotech industries, educational strategies. And bioagriculture, biologics area, diverse group of products derived from naturally occurring microorganisms, plant extracts, beneficial insects or other organic matter. This is bioagri. And bioindustrial is comprised of enzymes that have multiple industrial uses and generation of bioenergy through sources such as biomarkers and biofuels, algae, non-agri land, all this comes under the bioindustrial to make it eco-friendly and environment friendly. And bioinformatics is defined as application of tools of computation and analysis to the capture and interpretation of biological data. It is interdisciplinary field of which harnesses computer sciences, maths, physics, and biology. So these 4 faculty people have got a lot of scope in the bioinformatics, computer sciences, maths, physics, and biology. With this, I will end my first part. Now, today's talk, which I talked about, is the skill set. I give a preamble of what is the pharma industry and biotech industry to get an idea what kind of a in these industries and the kind of flow they have. In skill sets, we have hard and soft skill. What is skill, first of all? A skill is an ability to perform an activity in a competent manner. Skill is a ability. One's ability to perform an activity in a competent manner. It should be three underlying principles is ability, performance, and competent manner. If you are doing it, performance is poor performance also is not good. You should be competent manner. Competent manner, if it is given task to 3 or 4 people, there should be competition between this kind of people. That is this kind of skill, ability to perform an activity in a competent manner. What are the different types of skills? Skills can be classified into 2 types, hard skill and soft skills. Hard skills are the skills related to technical knowledge and abilities. Technical knowledge. Where do you get technical knowledge? Hard skills are teachable. They are all teachable skills and can be acquired through classroom program and training courses. Of course, nowadays classroom has become webinars or online courses, digital classrooms. Earlier it was a classroom, typical classroom programs used to be there. So the hard skill can be learned from the college classroom programs. These are all basically technical knowledge and ability. Most of the times hard skills are not transferable as they depend on the type of job. They are inherent to you. You have acquired that knowledge and it is not transferable. As they depend on the type of job, for the particular job, you need to have this kind of skill and that skill is with you. That is a task. Hard skills are generally quantifiable and measurable. They can be quantifiable, how much of work you have carried out, and it can be measured also. You cannot say this much I have done. This much means you have to quantify that one. The quantify and there is a measure also will be there. That will tell how much you have learned and you have delivered it. Hard skills require higher levels of IQ, that intelligent quotient, in a person. Hard skills are considered constant and are generally used in any surroundings or environment with a diversified workforce as well as workplaces. Hard skills are constant. And the rules of hard skills stay the same regardless of circumstances one works in. This is about the hard skills, which you are able to acquire these things in the colleges, in the universities, in the institutions where we are learning for your graduation, post-graduation, and doctoral research, thesis work. There you day in and day out, you are working on this, right? When it comes to soft skills, the soft skills are personal attributes that influence how well you can work and interact with others, how you can interact with others. These skills make it easier to form relationships. A relationship with people create trust and dependability, and it leads the teams. So these are personal attributes. When you say personal attributes, yeah. To form attribute is a quality or characteristic of a person. It is a quality or characteristic of a person. How do you say that this attribute, she is beautiful, or she is charming, or he's an intelligent guy, or is a funny character, and he has got a lot of initiative. He is very sensitive. He is very optimistic. These are some of the examples of attributes, the personal attribute. This varies from person to person. So soft skills are personal attributes that influence how well you can work or interact with others. These skills make it easier to form relationship with people. They create trust and dependability and lead teams. If you are working in a team environment also, you can be a leader there because you have very good interpersonal skills. You have very good relations with the people. They trust you and they depend on you. So this is one kind of a attribute. That attribute is related to soft skills. In essence, they are essential for your success in the workplace and your company's success and your personal life. These personal attributes will help you to succeed in your workplace, wherever you are working. In turn, it is company success or institute success where you are working, and also it will help you in your personal life also. Why are soft skills important? Most interactions with other people require some level of soft skill. In interaction, at a company, you might be negotiating to win a contract or presenting your idea to colleagues, networking for a new job, and so on. We use soft skills every day at work, and developing these soft skills will help you win more business and accelerate your career progression. That's why it is important from point of view. And on the other hand, lack of soft skills can limit your potential or even be the downfall of your business. By developing strong relationships, strong leadership, delegation, teamwork, communication abilities, you can run projects more smoothly, deliver results that please everyone, and you will positively influence your personal life by improving how you interact with others. This is the second use of the by the soft skill. And outside the office also, third point is soft skills such as communication are used to build friendship groups and meet potential partners. You might be negotiating the price of your new house renovation or meeting your neighbor children on the weekend. Soft skills useful both in our professional and personal lives. So if you divide these things into hard skills and soft skills, hard skills is the basics, the concepts and applications, developing of innovation skills, judgmental skills, knowledge, the basic knowledge which you have got it, and the knowledge enrichment. The knowledge is a continuous process. It is we are not satisfied with what just we have learned. It is a continuous process. We have to enrich our knowledge and build upon what we have learned also. Learning and de-learning skills. Once you have learned, how much you have learned will come to know you de-learning it. You are able to share with others. You de-learn that one. So this is giving something to the other. Then in turn they will also give you something. So it is a two-way process where learning and de-learning will go hand in hand, and this also helps in your soft skill development. Choosing your mentor is also important. I will talk about one slide I especially kept for the mentorship. Mentor, how do you choose a mentor? You need to choose a mentor from your work place where you are with your friends or teachers or with the colleagues or your seniors, whatever it is. Mentor. And mentor will help you in this one. And problem solving skills also will be the part of RK, because to solve a problem, you need to know the basics well, the concept you should know, you should have a judgmental knowledge, skill, and knowledge to resolve the issue. So these are all the hard skills what you do. And from the soft skills, attitude. Attitude is the important one. This is a top priority one. Attitude can circumvent many things if your attitude is good. Adaptability, communication skills. Everywhere you need communication. With the communication, you are able to convey things to a colleague or a seniors or your teachers or a guide or an examiner or whatever. It may be verbal or okay. Communication is very important. Verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and enthusiasm to learn. It is a continuous process. Again, it is an enthusiasm. The G should be there. Honesty, interpersonal skills, networking skills, responsiveness, team player and team working, trust, and value systems. Out of the soft skills, I will touch upon certain things and certain harder skills. Rest of things you are very well aware of it, but let me first elaborate on attitude. Attitude is a manner in which we react to situations irrespective of our qualities. It is a manner in which you react to situation irrespective of quality. It may be a positive attitude or a negative attitude. The positive attitude, affective component, the feeling, the behavior, belief, and knowledge. These are the positive attitudes and will help you the manner in which you want to react to situation irrespective of qualities. A negative attitude is one, it is a feeling, manner of disposition that is not non-cooperative, non-optimistic, or not constructive. It is negative attitude. The negative attitude will limit yourself, that you are not able to progress. You should have a positive mind and positive attitude. That's why this holds the top one in the case of soft skill. Attitude, alphabetically also A, and the attitude is the top one. Adaptability, an ability or willingness to change in order to suit for different situations. Whatever may be the situation, one should have the ability or willingness to change. Change is law of life. Change is law of life, and change is for the progress. An ability or willingness to change in order to suit for different situations. That will be the adaptability. Then it will mold you. It will go into any situation. You can get adapted into the situation, whatever it may be, and it will help you to work with the friends, to work with the others also. Choose your mentor. When I say why it is important, mentor is a mentor who giving guidance for you, but you should be selecting your mentor. Mentor is to support and encourage people to manage their own learnings in order to that we maximize their potential to develop their skills and improve the problem. You may not be knowing your potential. The great example is Lord Hanuma. Hanuma, when he wants to cross the ocean to in search of Sita, what happened? Others have praised him, others have encouraged him, and he has grown such a big, and he has become so high he could able to cross the ocean. The inherent potential, one will not know about you. What kind of potential I have? Until unless your mentor will able to, you will maximize their potential. If they know your strength, they know your weakness, they know your how you can able to overcome these things. Where the weakness is there, you have to reduce in the weakness and think on the positives and make weakness zero and improve the strength. Convert the weakness into strength. That is the way your mentor can help you in this one. One should be able to identify a mentor. And mentoring is more development driven, looking not just at current level, but beyond the career development for future. Is a development driven. It is a continuous process. It is development that doesn't end. Now you have just come out of college. Okay, my mentor. Your mentor can continue to be a mentor for you, even you got job in the industry or you can want a job also. Where the mentor knows, based whatever guidance he has given, how you have progressed. It's a guru. The guru is always important. After the mother and father, Matradeva Bhava, Pitradeva Bhava, Acharya Deva Bhava. Right? So that the guru is a mentor, is like a guru, looking not just in the current level, but beyond the career development for future. In the case of research guide will be there. And he knows all your strengths. He knows what kind of experimentation you are doing it. This mentoring will be types 1-to-1, distance, group mentoring. But mentoring should be a quality mentoring. Quality mentoring greatly enhances students and chances of success. The success can come by quality mentoring. Just for the sake of mentor, identify mentoring not. The mentor also should be a quality mentor. And you should also give time in such a way that whatever inputs you get should get used it and work on those things to minimize the weaknesses and increase on the strengths. Value systems, ethics. Value systems are prescriptive beliefs. They affect the ethical behavior of a person. Values reflect a person's sense of right or wrong. Values are personal or moral types of values, and core values, the integrity, honesty, consistency, efficiency, commitment, reliability, respect, loyalty, and responsibility. These are the core values in the value system, the ethics. Integrity, honesty and integrity are prime important. Consistently delivering and excelling. Consistently delivering. Continuous consistency leads to excellence. And efficiency. Doing things is one, but production and productivity. Like, how much you produce, but how much of good you produce. The good productivity is called productivity. So that is where the efficiency comes. Commitment. Commitment, once you take a commitment, we should honor the commitment, we should deliver it one. And people start respecting and respect to individual, respect to others. Reliability also improves once a commitment is there, delivery is there, the reliability will come automatically. Loyalty and responsibility. Loyal to the institute, guru, or organization, everywhere. Loyalty is very important and responsibility. These are the core value systems one should inculcate and practice. Some of the examples of the skills, career progression promotion. 94% of recruiting professionals believe in employee with stronger soft skills has a better chance. 94% of the recruiting professionals are saying it is ICIMS Hiring Insights is given this one. Stronger soft skills has got a chance of getting recruited, getting promoted, giving a higher opportunity. An employee with more years of experience but weaker soft skills will not get elevated or get promoted. So there also the soft skills not only here getting the job after joining also for the progress of the career also important. It become vital to develop these skills for you want to progress in your career as they will set you apart from others at the interview and the job also. So it become vital to develop these skills. You want to progress. You want to progress, you have to develop these skills and your career in your career. The modern workplace interpersonal. We talked about the soft skills. Now interpersonal things, active listening, collaboration, presenting ideas and communicating. Listening is important. One should listen to others and then only act on it. So active listening is one good skill. And collaboration, presenting ideas and how do you identify present it? Once you are good at communication, you can be able to present ideas. With colleagues are highly valued in the modern workplace. In the modern workplace, these things are becoming more and more important. Strong soft skills ensure a productivity, collaborative and healthy work environment, all crucial attributes for organization in increasingly competitive world. In a competitive world, these things are playing a role to ensure productivity, collaborative work, and healthy work environment. Another example is customers and client demand soft skills. Customers these days have huge number of choices. Yes, we have so many areas we have. You can buy from on the internet or smartphone or anything you want. From doing your smartphone and internet, you can browse so many things. Where it's cheap, you don't have to go to shops or anything. You will get all once the digitalization happens so much. Once you start searching for this one, you get a lot of inputs from this one. This is available so for this is available at so and so rate. All this convenience and low prices easy to come by. Customer service is often what influences the choice to use a particular business. But getting that one is not important. You will again you look at the brand and you look at the customer satisfaction, customer service. The customer service is often influences the choice of this one. The ability to communicate human level with customers is therefore a vital factor organization success. So the communication here also we talked about it. Earlier also we talked about communication here in the modern workplace. So communication plays an important. The future workplace will rely on soft skills. Automation and artificial intelligence. As shown in IT enablement, what is taking place? The robotics, artificial intelligence, automation is coming by robots. Will result in greater proportion of jobs relying on soft skills. Advances in technology have caused tasks that require hard skill to decline. Now, so and slowly, hard skills will decline, making soft skills key differentiator in the workplace. A study by Deloitte, economic predict soft skills intensive occupations will account for 2/3 of jobs by 2030. Soft skills intensive occupation will account for 2/3 of all jobs by 2030. 2030, 2/3 of jobs will be soft skills intensive only. As the cost of robots are decreasing now, and the performance of artificial intelligence was a new terminology few years back. Now artificial intelligence being used in many places. It is being used, right? Robots. Earlier robots means only a particular job. Now you are seeing robots being employed in banks, in manufacturing operations, in a customer-friendly things place. They are using robots. Jobs such as manufacturing line workers. Wherever the manufacturing line workers are there, you might have seen the car industry. Most of these are robotic driven, will become automated. Traditional skills like teamwork, communication, critical thinking will be more important than ever. Now, the critical thinking, communication, and teamwork will become traditional skills are more important than ever because of the automation that is taking place at future workplace. Examples, soft skills are hard to automate. These cannot be automated, soft skills. Hard skills can be automated. You have employed a robot, your daily day-to-day, whatever is the work. In the banks also what they said, the front desk what they told, you have to give an application form or you have to take an application, or you have to tell about this one. This is being done with the robots also. Daily routine jobs are being done with the robots. Soft skills are hard to automate because following from the previous point, soft skills such as emotional intelligence. Yes, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathizing with others, overcome challenges, diffuse conflict. This is emotional intelligence. Who has got emotional? Human being only got emotional intelligence. So this is one cannot be automated now. Maybe future we don't know. Hard to automate now, but future, but presently emotional intelligence is uh, they are expected to become more desirable in near future. People will be with more good emotional intelligence will be useful for the getting jobs and getting promoted. Soft skills are high in demand by recruitees. Soft skills are high in demand workforce according to 2017 paper by Harvard student on the important social skills in the labor market, jobs requiring high levels of social interaction. LinkedIn research has given communication, organization, teamwork, critical thinking, social skills, creativity, interpersonal communication, adaptability. And of course, attitude also they delicate intel, but I have included attitude. These are the most demand skills. Without positive attitude, success is called luck. Like one person might have succeeded because without positive attitude, but he has succeeded. But that is one time only luck. But with positive attitude, it's success scale called achievement, excellence. Time and again we can do it with a positive. That is the difference between we cannot be depending on luck. We should on hard work and success and achievement and excellence. Education is not a name of any degree or certificate that can be shown to others as a proof. Education is the name of your attitude, actions, language, behavior with others in real life. This is a quote from Barack Obama. Education not a name of a degree, any degree or certificate that will show there is a proof. Yes, you're done. The basic things you're done. The basic you're landed. Right. Concept you're landed. But education is the name of your attitude. How well you got those value systems, soft skills, what kind of attitude you have, what actions you have, the language is the communication, your personal behavior with others in real life. That is the order of the day now. Now I'll go to my third part of my talk, that is career opportunities. What kind of opportunities are available from the both pharma and biotech industry, and in general, I just summarize those things. Career opportunities, you can go into academicians, you can like another professor, another doctor, a doctorate, and you can become another doctorate in IT industry, sales and marketing, government testing labs, bioinformatics, biologics, biotechnology, drug control administration, clinical drug discovery, entrepreneurship, hospital pharmacist, pharmaceutical manufacturing units, retail chemist, retail pharmacist. These are the broad areas, and I will take you inside to what exactly is the academicians' scopes are there, what pharmaceutical manufacturing unit, what biotechnology industry has got. I'll take you to those lines also. Career opportunities, academicians, based on your passion, one can go into teaching, then go to research. They can do research scholar, then do doctoral research, postdoctoral research, and become the guide and mentor for others. In the bioinformatics, medical coding, biological data interpretation, and I told you about the bioinformatics. It has got it of three aspects of computer sciences, math, physics, and biology. Application of tools of computation and analysis to the capture and interpretation of biological data. A lot of biological data which comes. It is interdisciplinary field which harnesses computer sciences, math, physics, and biology. These people can go into the bioinformatics. Biologics, biosimilars, vaccines and sera, and biotechnology, microbiologists, process chemists, monoclonal antibodies is the one which is catching up. So knowledge about those kind of developments, MABs, upstream and downstream chemists, biosimilar experts, biosynthetics, these are areas where you can do specialization or you can improve your skills in this one and you can go into biotech industry. Now biotech industry is looking for minimum doctorates, they are looking at it. It's not a BSc or MSc, they are looking for even higher also. So making good progress in the knowledge what you acquire will help you. And clinical and discovery research. It can be a synthetic chemist, medicinal chemist, natural chemist, pharmacologist, biostatistics, analytical chemist, pharmacist, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, computer-aided discovery, preclinical and clinical studies, which I touched about these things in my first slides about the drug discovery and the stages of the manufacturing. So before that, the research and development, I narrated about these kind of steps there. IT industry, SME subject matter experts, domain consultants, and lot of other opportunities in IT also is there. Because this bioinformatics wise also we have talked about it. There the computer sciences are having usefulness is there. And in the drug control administration, there are state drug inspectors, central drug inspectors, customs inspectors in the drug control in the administration wise. There are government testing labs are there. Government approved, government itself has got a labs across the India. So many them. ICMR you can see ICMR is the International Medical Research is there, right? Like a Afghan Institute is there. We have a Pimpri also is there. There are so many specialized areas in the government institutions are there. Retail pharmacies, people can start their own pharmacies, retail pharmacies, entrepreneurship, hospital pharmacy. People go into that line where their passion is there. In the comes to the formulation units, yes, this will be applicable to both pharma and biotech industry, manufacturing chemists, manufacturing pharmacists, quality control, quality assurance, regulatory. I have shown you those areas also, the regulatory wise, production, chemist, production pharmacists, development pharmacists, which are working in the research and development area, process development. When it is coming from the lab to the next stage, process is to be fine-tuned. So they require process development chemists, pharmacists. Project management. When the number of projects are more, one should have a project management type of project management skill, project management department to monitor the progress of the projects. There are courses in project management. Analytical chemist, pharmacist, people can go into the instrumentation, high-end instruments are there, knowledge about high-end instrumentation. People go into purchase, sourcing, I told you procurement. So using IT as well as procurement, basic knowledge about pharmacy or biotech, these things will help you. What material to source, the purchase, what material to be, vendor qualification, vendor rating, vendor JIT procurement of materials, logistic and distribution. Once a product is manufactured, it has to get distributed. How distribution channel is required. Depots will be there across the globe, across the country also. So this material has to go to reach farther places. It will be export, it will be domestic use, it may be a sea shipment to other countries, air shipment, so many things. All these things are coordinated by the logistic and distribution to see to it the drug reaches or the product reaches the end consumer. Warehouse executives, warehouse, raw material warehouse, finished goods warehouse, there are different warehouses will be there. They require warehouses, people are there. And warehouse executives, sales and marketing executives, product management, pharmacovigilance, pharmacists and doctors. The pharmacovigilance, medical doctors also will be used in the medical marketing and pharmacovigilance also. The pharmacovigilance is once, as I told you, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, the phase 4 will be. The phase 4 is once it is launched into the market, how it is performing, is any adverse drug reactions are there. That has to be reported back to the companies and to the regulatory authorities. This is the kind of action we have seen it. Otherwise, what I told you, the safety, efficacy, and toxicity. All these things are studied as a part of the research itself. But that is in an animal model and in some population in the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But it is not in the mass way. It is done in a particular area and particular quantity of people, patient or subjects. It is called as subjects. This many subjects were done. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And phase 4 will be once it goes into the market, it goes to all channels and all places. There you may get some kind of a report. It is because it is getting tested in so many people. Before that itself, it is done in ethnic groups like Caucasians, Asians, Europeans, Americans, because genetically the people are having the differences in this one. So once it is effective in particular species, or when I say human being, in this case, will it be same in other places also? That's why it is being done, and multicentric studies will be done. Those studies will help in formalizing the final product. Now, once it is released into the phase 4, full-scale production and full-scale into the marketplace, many people start using it, and pharmacovigilance is an important aspect. It comes there. Right. This is my talk on these aspects. Hello, Dr. Nidhi.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Rao. I just took a moment to switch on my mic. And this was a very nicely put presentation, I must say, which focused on all the aspects from hard skills, soft skills, and the other kind, like the positions that are there available, what are the career opportunities in these companies and everything. And it was a very like versed and very nicely put the information in one presentation and one webinar. Thank you so much, everybody.
So, Dr.